All right, hi Promise Fellows. Right now I'm going to give a quick tutorial on how to use the hours calculator so that way as you're self-assessing your service, you can see how you're doing on your hours because all Promise Fellows need to ultimately get to that 1,720 hours by the time that they're done with their service. And so for the majority of you, that's by July 31st. Some of you that started later, such as starting in October, might need to, you still have the same amount of hours to serve, but you have a later end date. So your end date might be August 15th. And then for a few of you, August 31st. So right now, if you go into your Encore, so you can see that I'm in my fake profile, which is the first name member, last name test. But this is exactly what you see when you go into Encore. You normally go to enter your timesheet. So when you click enter timesheets, you're brought to this window where it allows you to enter your timesheets. But right now, we're not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go to my member test. I'm going to expand my name, so you should see your name right here. And you can see when your end date is. You can see the hours left that you have to serve. So you can see by the nature of this being fake profile, we haven't submitted timesheets. So this person still needs to serve all of their hours. But if you look down here in the left, you have member details, and that says essentially how many hours that you need to serve per week. So right here it says average per week needed. So if I were serving right now as a Promise Fellow, if I just started, so right now I'm recording this at the end of October, I would need to serve 43.62 hours per week in order to get to that 1,720 hours. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you how to translate that. So that way you can actually, start using the hour calculator to both say the service that you've already done and then map out future service. So that way, you know that you have a plan to take care of your hours so you do get to that 1,720 hours. So I'm going to use that number right there. So right now, when you go to your profile, you should be looking at that number as well. So if you go to Encore, or not Encore, if you go to our website, all of you know how to get to the Promise Fellow Program resource page. So you'd go and you'd hit Our Work, you go to the Promise Fellow Program resource page, and then you have all of these different pieces that you can explore, but right now we're really talking about timesheets. So if you go down to the timesheets, forms, and policies category, you see the service hours calculator. So you can, quick read through it, and essentially saying that it's a way to plan for upcoming service. So that way you can take into factors such as like plan breaks where you're doing professional development, and the actuality that you'll have sick days. So you need to make sure that you don't set yourself up to not meet your service hours expectation because you just had too many sick days. So if I go to the service hours calculator, it'll download. And once again, I'm using Chrome, so mine downloads in the browser. But if you're using Firefox, Explorer, other pieces, just go to your downloads file. And I'm going to wait a second here while it opens up. All right, so while it's opening up, what we're going to have to do is you're going to have to go look at your end date. So for the majority of you, it says 7/31/2017. That's the first thing that you're going to need to put in. So right now, if you notice, this Excel document has an example that it opens to, and then it has the actual hour calculator as the other tab. But you would need to make sure to put in your end date. So right now you can see it's 7/31, but if you had an end date of 8/15, this is where you'd write 8/15. But I'm going to go in and do the 7/31 end date. So you can see right now it's saying that the average hours per week needed is I need to serve 43.62 hours. And so that should exactly match what it says in Encore. So we can see, yep, by the nature of that, I need 43.62 hours. You can go through and start putting in the hours that you've already served to bring that up to current, but then you also have a section for future planning statistics. So right now it's 10:28. Let's say that I started serving, as of 10:17, and I just haven't entered my timesheet yet. So I can go through on 10:17. So you'll go through and see that it orders it by Friday. So it's saying how many hours have you served by the end of that week. So by the end of 10:14, how many hours have you served? So if you look at that, you can look at the calendar. That would be that last Friday of the second week of October. But right now, if you started serving 10:17, that means that first full week of service that you know how many hours that you served would be the 21st. So let's go in and put that in. So you can put in the amount of hours you served. So let's say you were still getting your service under your feet, and you had 30 hours that week, which would be low. And I'd also expect it would probably be low because of MEA, so there wasn't as many school days, and you haven't had an opportunity to figure out your professional development plan. So you can say what you did. So you can say that was just service and training. Then you can see that 10:28, which is the current date right now, that by the end of this week, you can say the amount of hours that you've served. So this week, I served 45 hours because I did 40 hours at the site and 5 hours of training at the Alliance. So that would be where you potentially come in and help ground you in your service. So you can see really right now that you need to serve 41.72 hours per week. So this is where you might see some dissonance. So to go back to Encore for a second, when you're looking at Encore, essentially until you submit your timesheet, those hours aren't logged. So if you went in and did the time tracking for this pay period, so right now that would be 10/28, aka through the end of October. Like, you have the opportunity to put all of those hours in that you did. But until you have the opportunity to go through, add your descriptions, until you have the opportunity to go through and add all of those, so you'd need, your service description or training description in every box, with the service hours and training hours in every box. In this case, since the end of the pay period is the 31st, aka the end of the month, you can't authorize and submit that timesheet yet until Monday, which means it hasn't tracked all of those hours that you've served. So that's one way that the hour calculator is more accurate in, because it can tell you exactly how you're doing as of any day, whereas Encore will only tell you how you're doing after each time you submit your payroll. So for the month of October, if we look at that, the payroll goes the 1st through the 15th. So that means on Monday the 17th, it's going to give you the most accurate picture of your service, because those hours have been submitted. Then once again, as you serve throughout the last half of October, your most accurate description of your service in the Encore website will really come when those timesheets are submitted on the 1st. So right now, I'm going to go back to the hour calculator. So we have what you really need to serve, which is still right now over 40 hours per week, using this example, which means that we need to get that down. Hopefully you're not in a space where you need to consistently serve over 40 hours per week, but you're working on making a service plan that allows you to get that down to 40 hours by serving over that average. So if it's saying that you need to serve 41.72 hours per week, you need to serve more than that in order to bring those average hours per week down, which is slightly a confusing thought. But if you think about it, so right now it's saying you need to serve about 42 hours per week. If you have a few weeks where you serve more than that, you're logging in more time in the same payroll period, which allows that average to drop down. So if you notice right now, so I'm going to just put in a few weeks of 44, and you can see that even though those days haven't happened yet, your future hours are going down. So I'm going to keep on putting in a few weeks of 44. And you can see it's slowly going down, and you can also see that the color coding is showing you how well you're doing. So once you hit that 40-hour mark, that allows you to kind of get in the green area where you only need to serve, that expected 40 hours per week. So right now, this is where if I were in your shoes, I'd start going through and making a plan. So, especially for some of these planned school breaks, maybe you want to, do YIPA trainings off-site. And that's where you'd really leverage your professional development plan in order to, serve more hours. So, somewhere in late December, early January, you're going to have a holiday break. So if there's some big trainings that you can do, that would be, fantastic, because it would allow you to bring some of those hours down. But realistically, you're going to need to keep on serving, slightly above, at the very least, what it's saying the average hours per week needed is, because that's the only way that it's going to bring that number down. So right now, I would keep planning it out and trying to find days where I could do above 42 hours per week, so that way I could keep bringing that down. So let's say I know that I'm going to be able to do 44 hours per week there, 44 hours per week there. There's a school field trip this week. I know I'm going to have a crazy week where essentially everything's service hours except for sleeping. And that's happening back-to-back weeks. But you can see that, some of those big opportunities that your host site might offer will really help your hours to help bring them down, because right now, if you are operating on a 7/31 end date like I am right here, you have all these weeks where you need to kind of add those hours or redistribute those hours to the current weeks that you're serving or future weeks that you're serving. But you can also notice that if you are somebody that started later and, say, shifted your end date, it gives you more time to get to that service. And so might put you in a better spot. So right now I'm kind of operating on the hardest case where you didn't get a chance to start serving until October, but you still have a 7/31 end date by the nature of when you completed your paperwork and when you started service. So I'd encourage everyone to go through, read the directions. They're at the top. There's also an example, so you can go through and see, how, past promise fellows have done it, and some planning notes, and, where you should, potentially plan for, future sick days and future other things, just to make sure that you're being able to complete your service successfully. So right now, I hope this is helpful as you start planning your hours, and please be in contact with your trainer if you have any problems being able to, understand anything that's around your hours. So once again, Encore will show you how you're doing, but really the member hour calculator will give you a better way to plan for future service. All right, thanks all.